Hello and welcome back to Everlasting Summer. Also, I once fell into a pond from a bridge and almost drowned. Your stories are all... Slavya said in an annoyed tone. I told you there isn't much to talk about. So I told you the first story that came to my mind. Oh, speaking of which, the lake. Slavya looked at the water. Let's go swimming. I'm not really fond of that. I don't even have anything to swim in. Oh, come on. She gave me a captivating smile. I don't know, really. Of course I was eager to agree, but, well, I still hesitated. Oh, come on. Slavia laughed and ran off to the lake, unbuttoning her shirt on the way. Well, I stood up from the sleeping bag and slowly headed her way. And when I came closer, Slavia was already splashing in the lake, with all her clothes left lying around. Come here. Well, I'm not sure if I want to, I mumbled slowly. Come on, it's fun in here. She didn't seem to feel awkward about my presence at all. Well, I wanted to turn away at first. But here's the question. What's more appropriate here? If Slavia thinks it's okay and I act awkwardly, won't it offend her? But that isn't the most important thing now. I didn't bring my swimming trunks. I guess that wasn't the most suitable excuse at the moment. So, neither did I. Slavia said, with a voice at a level quieter. Don't be afraid. I'm not. There's nothing to be afraid of. So get in. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to comply, but with everything happening some other way. Not in such a spontaneous and random manner. And really, why is Slavia so friendly to me? Or is there something more to it than that? Then I really don't get it. It's up to you, she said disappointedly. Light the fire then. What for? Because when I get out, I'll need a way to dry myself. Oh, yeah, fine. Dude, did you seriously just turn down the opportunity to skinny dip with an attractive woman? Okay, I'm awkward around women? That's impressively awkward. I quickly went back to the sleeping bag and picking up branches on my way. Collecting firewood wasn't a problem at all, but how do I light the fire? I had neither a matchbox nor a lighter. And like every educated person, I know that it's possible to do it by rubbing one stick against another, but, well, I've never done that before. Still, I had no other ideas. I started to drill one stick into another slowly. I was lucky that the sticks were dry enough, otherwise I'd had no chance. Actually, I was quite sceptical about my chances, but after just a minute, some smoke appeared and a faint fire flared up, although it died out a moment later. Still, at least it was clear that I could handle this way of starting a fire. It took me another 20 minutes of suffering, but in the end I had a small fire burning next to the sleeping bag. I was throwing more sticks onto it lazily. So this is how it turns out. Man can't adapt to anything, and so could I. I could probably even survive in a snowy forest. My survivalist thoughts were interrupted by Slavia, who suddenly appeared right above me. Wow, you're good. I lifted my gaze and turned away quickly. She was wearing a skirt. Thanks to its dampness, it wasn't hiding much. It wasn't a problem in the lake, but, well, it's quite different when she was so close. One wouldn't get lost with you. Slavia sat with her back against mine. I hope it'll dry off quickly. Somehow I was hoping so too. So what? What? I asked with a muddled voice. Tell me something else. I don't know, really. I felt like something was stuck in my throat. Storytelling was definitely out of the question. You've gotten so stiff suddenly. Curse that friend of mine who likes to think of everything as a sexual innuendo. It gets to the point that once you've known somebody like that for long enough, you can't switch it off. You immediately see every possible sexual innuendo every time it happens. Really? Why would I? It's nothing, just... I had a feeling that I wouldn't be able to sit still like that any longer. Animal instincts were clouding my mind. You think that this is normal? What? Sitting like this. What's wrong with it? Seems like Slavia didn't really understand. Well, do you really not get it? I sighed helplessly. Well, I'm not really sure. Her voice sounded cunning. What do you think? Well, maybe we shouldn't hold back. Her words flashed through my head. She's giving her consent? Something wonderful happened between us. Something that I couldn't even dream of 6 days ago. Maybe here it is, the reason for me being in this camp. That was amazing. Yeah. And for a while, we just lay close to each other. It's getting chilly. Hang on. I unfolded the sleeping bag and we got inside, together. Slavya rested her head on my shoulder. Mind if I take a quick nap? I just feel so tired. Sure, go ahead. Soon her breathing became deep and steady, and the wind quietly rustled the leaves on the trees around us, and the grass was swaying next to us, and tiny bugs buzzed annoyingly overhead. Suddenly I realized that this was the best place that I had ever seen in my life. And thinking of that, I fell asleep. I opened my eyes and saw the top of an oak roaring above. A strong wind had risen, chilling me to the bone, and the full moon was staring right at me. Night had fallen. I couldn't really tell what time it was, but it didn't matter much. Slavya was still asleep. I tucked the sleeping bag around her cosily, got dressed, and headed to the lake. I was really thirsty, and there weren't any other options available. Besides, I don't think the water here will be poisonous. We're not around Chernobyl or anything. Well, at least that's what I want to believe. I scooped up some water and eagerly dipped my face into my hands. The water tasted so good, that it felt like it came from a spring, not a lake. My reflection stared at me, blurred in the water, touched by the moonlight. And it seemed to be smiling. Weird, I didn't even notice. Overjoyed, I headed back, fully intending to sleep till morning. Then a twig snapped nearby. I turned to see what had made the noise and saw someone behind a tree. "Who's there?" I called out, worried. There's no need to scream like that. The voice seemed familiar. I came closer, saw Lena. What are you doing here? Taking a walk? At this time? What? I can't? No, it's just strange. I leaned against a tree and pondered. She's definitely here for a reason. Besides, we barely made it here. You can't reach this lake on a walk. And even at night, Slavya, sleeping a dozen steps away, was in clear view. And? What? Were you going to say anything? Am I supposed to? Up to you. I don't get what you're saying. Okay. Been here for a while? Well, not that long. How long's that? Not long, Lena snapped. All right. Is that all? I don't know. And we stood silently for a while longer. You should probably get back. Slavya will get cold. You saw? So you saw? Well, it was hard not to see. If you think that... What am I supposed to think, huh? Seems as clear as day to me. I guess. So you're not going to say anything? What is there to say? After your show at the square today, words don't seem to be needed. There was no show. We just... Well, it's like I'm trying to justify myself to her. That's none of your business anyway. Exactly. It's your business. Just be careful. Watch out. What are you talking about? Look, if everything comes to you so easily, you probably won't value it much. Though you should. I don't get it. Well, like Slavya. Bam! This time it's magical. Then you do it another time, and another, and then you get tired of it. Maybe. Lena paused. That's what I'm saying. You need to cherish what you have, even if you don't put much effort into getting it. If you think I'm treating this like a game, you're totally wrong. I don't think that. But it's possible. Besides, how about staying out of things that are none of your business? I'm just giving you advice. I don't remember asking for it. I think you should pay more attention to what you're doing and planning to do, so you don't feel any torturing regrets later on. Look, this is starting to sound like a threat. Actually, it really is. Well, maybe so, Lena said mysteriously. So you... No, not at all. Not now, to be precise, she added in a whisper. Lena turned and headed into the depths of the forest, and I didn't stop her. When she was almost gone from sight, I noticed something in her hand, blinking in the moonlight. What a strange girl. I sighed and returned to Slavya, and the warmth of her body kept me from the cold of the night. I hope I was keeping Slavya warm as well. So we're up to, what, day 7? Yes, day 7. I'm assuming having her there basically says, right, this is the romance track you're on. Need to clean my mouse mat again. I woke up with the first rays of the sun because of the cold. Obviously the sleeping bag was warm, and it hadn't had enough time to be covered with hoarfrost, but it was still a novelty for me to spend the night in a forest. Carefully, in order to avoid waking Slavya up, I got out of the bag, and the fresh morning air finally dispelled my drowsiness, and the serenity of last night swept over me. I guess it was the happiest moment of my life. Intimacy, tenderness, love, passion, all those emotions interlinked in me during those short hours. I looked at Slavya, and she was beautiful. Her face was set in a motionless expression of absolute tranquility and peacefulness. I guess that's how angels sleep. As I had no wish to wake her up, I just sat down by her side and observed the way the morning began. Nature. The fresh dew, light wind, dancing tree leaves and patches of sunlight on the water used to be alien to me yesterday. The concrete jungles of a huge city were the only forests that I'd known before. And if someone had told me that I could just sit and enjoy things like that, despite the night cool and annoying mosquitoes without computer or internet, I wouldn't have believed them. Good morning. I looked at Slavya. Morning. Did you sleep well? Better than ever. Me too. She reached out and she kissed me, and the kiss seemed everlasting as I just dissolved into her. Having breakfast would be great. Slavya finally spoke, letting go of me. Yeah, I guess so. Do you know what time it is now? No, but I think it's still early. I hope the canteen's already open. I'm so hungry. Me too. We got our things and walked to the camp holding hands. The canteen was indeed open, and strangely we were its first visitors. It wasn't a surprise that breakfast wasn't that luxurious. Oatmeal, 2 eggs, dry bread, watery tea. You know, I never did like the local food. Me neither, to tell you the truth. Slavya laughed. But then there is no choice, and it's quite good on an empty stomach. Well, that's right. Unlike me, she was eating carefully, and I was dropping porridge on my shirt and spilling tea over myself as usual. Do you always eat like this? Anything wrong with that? I asked with a full mouth. She just laughed. No. No, not always, but well, it happens when I'm really hungry. Of course, I can be more civilized. Well, I can try at least. No worries, it's nothing. Soon we were finished breakfast, and we went to the exit. No sooner had we noticed that we were still the only people in the canteen than Olga appeared on the threshold. Oh, it's you. Well, I won't ask where you spent the night. So is it... The camp leader was obviously embarrassed. Good morning to you too, Olga, Slavya said with a bright smile. Yes, morning, morning. Okay, just don't forget to pack your things. We won't. What does she mean? Some hike again? I asked Slavya when we left the canteen. No. Today's the last day. Have you forgotten? Last day of what? Last day of the term. To say that her words struck me dumb was something of an understatement. How? Why? Why so surprised? Didn't you know it was announced during the lineup? But even at those lineups which I attended, I was just sleeping on my feet. No. Now you know. Slavya smiled naturally. What should I do? Her words stirred a mass of emotions inside of me. On one hand, I might get out of this cursed camp at last and get some answers. On the other hand, I've just found something that's very important to me. Now I have to let it go? What do you mean? Oh, nothing. When's the departure? In the evening. 5, 6 o'clock. Well, still a lot of time then. Yes, but I have some things to do. And I should find Xenia. She might be worried since I was absent the whole night. Well, worrying is so much like her. See you at lunch. Slavya gave me a kiss on the cheek and ran away. And I kept standing at the canteen's entrance. I had nothing to do, nothing to pack. So the only thing I could do was wander around the camp until evening and think. I would give anything to be able to empty my head for this 10 hours. A voice pulled me out of my trance. Hello. Electronique stood before me, as merry as usual. You too. I replied, somewhat absent-mindedly. You know, the whole camp is talking about you. Well, I guess I know why. So, you did it already? He asked, giggling. Do you really think that concerns you? Well, no, I just... Then keep quiet. Leaving him alone with his speculations, I walked to the square. Why does he behave in a way that drives everyone mad? Although it's probably just me he maddens. I was completely immersed in my thoughts and not looking around, and I didn't notice Miko until she bumped into me. "Oh, sorry, I should be more careful. I was just lost in thought and I didn't notice you. You know how it happens. And oh, and hi." I looked it through her, and I kept on walking. "Hey, Semyon, wait a second. What's up with Slavya? Tell me, it's so interesting. Since everyone in the whole camp expects me to know about it, not that I'm curious, but since everything is so serious." Saying that she's not curious is like denying a universal truth. "Nothing special," I answered without turning back. "Well, if you don't want to—" I tried to isolate myself from the outside irritations, so Miko's other words passed by. The square scenery was soon replaced by the beach, and luckily the juvenile gem of the Soviet pop scene wasn't around. I took a place in the sand and started gazing into the river. Why on earth is the whole camp so interested in my relationship with Slavya? In my world, nobody would have said a word. Do you honestly believe that? Do you actually seriously believe that? Because let's face it, gossip is what... Well, I'll rephrase that. Gossip is what teenagers live on, or a lot of them do. You know, let's face it, the Americans are supposed to be particularly bad for it. I'm assuming the Russians probably aren't good for it. In Britain, we don't really care, but even so, there was constant, "Oh, have you heard such and such fancies such and such other person?" You know, and I was part of the social group that just went, "Guys, is that really important? Can't we, talk about..." And then I'd list something else. So I am willing to bet that no matter where you are in the world, teenagers love their gossip. Especially female teenagers. I'm not saying male teenagers aren't just as bad. It just seems to be more obvious with female teenagers. Well, at least not out loud. Still, at least you don't hear the things they say behind your back. For now, I was ready to endure gossip, just as long as I didn't have to report to everyone about my private life. The sun was rising higher and higher, and I was nodding off. My eyes were already closed when I suddenly heard someone sitting down next to me. It was Alicia. "Congratulations." Meaning? "Don't you know?" Yeah, I suppose it doesn't take an Einstein to work it out. To be honest, I'm kinda sick and tired of this. Everyone just has to mention it. Enough. And what did you expect? This is out of the ordinary for the camp. I would even say it's exceptional. She laughed. And to show up at the camp leader just like that. Even Ulyana couldn't manage that. Me neither, probably. I didn't know how to respond to that. Or whether it was a compliment or a mockery. You know, you're making too big a deal out of it. There was nothing unusual for me. Moreover, I don't understand why you have to poke your nose into my life. Don't you think it's my personal business, nobody else's? Maybe so, Alicia said mysteriously, and we sat silently for a while. I wanted her to leave as soon as possible, but Alicia was watching the pioneers on the beach, and it didn't seem that she was planning to go anywhere. "So, what are you going to do next? What are you talking about? Today's the last day. So what? Everyone will leave? So? And then Slavya will leave too? And you'll leave too, so? You'll break up?" "I know that already, thank you." "Obviously." "And what did you think about that?" "What should I think? I can't stay here forever." "Of course you can't. But what, will you just let it go like that?" "No. What can I do?" Frankly speaking, I really did have no idea what to do next. My head was a complete mess. I'll be able to get out of here. That was the most important thing for me during the last week. And now I have to answer a much more difficult question. How did summer romances end for common Soviet teenagers? And my romance was a summer one for sure. They just went home and that's how it was. They could live thousands of kilometers away from each other, and in my case, in different worlds. It's not like one can come up with a decent solution for such a problem in a couple of hours. Like, I know. It's up to you to decide. Alicia grinned, stood, and ran to the river. There was only about half an hour till lunch, so I slowly walked to the canteen. Pioneers hadn't managed to occupy all the free tables, so I was able to choose a quite good place, but to my regret, not my favourite one in the corner. I was just about to start eating when someone abruptly pulled out a chair at the table near me and took a seat. "Hi there, how are you?" It was Ulyana. an extraordinarily polite version of her. I was fine until now, I sneered. Oh, come on, better tell me. What are you going to do? Eat, I sighed. I'm not talking about that. The session's over. You and Slavya are going to part. What's next? God, it's like my future is a priority issue for all the local residents. Hey, what really is the matter? Just curious. Curious about what? Look, I don't ask you what you're going to do tomorrow or the day after tomorrow or in a month. Why do you have to get into someone else's life? I'm not getting into anything, Ilyona said, offended. I'm not really good at all that stuff. True enough, you're still a kid. So you've got to explain since you're the adult here. So what should I explain? So you're going to stay in touch through letters, right? And then you're going to go to this camp next summer together? Talking through letters. Sounds so wild to me. And I don't mean the idea of paper sheets and envelopes. I mean the possibility of losing Slavya for a year, possibly even longer. Or forever. So what? May I join you? I raised my eyes and saw Slavya standing near me with a food tray. Okay, time to go. Ilyona jumped and dashed off to a far corner of the canteen. What were you talking about? You know her. What could we possibly be talking about? Slavya smiled. Took care of your business? Yeah, now I'm completely free. I can help you pack your stuff. It's not like I've got that much to pack. Well, then you can help me with my stuff. Sure. That was the perfect opportunity for a quiet talk with her, though I had not the slightest idea of what I should talk about. Soon enough, we finished our meal and headed to Slavya's cabin. Everything in it was clean and neat, unlike Olga's cabin. Oh, I'm not sure what I should start with. She took out her travel bag and started to rummage through a cabinet. Meanwhile, I sat on the bed and started to gather my thoughts. Do you have any plans after the camp? What are you going to do? Well, you know... She raised her eyes to mine and gave me a smile. I'll go back to school. Oh, yeah. And you? What about me? It's not like I'm considering going to high school for a second time. Me? Well, me too, I guess. Though I don't really feel like going back to my city. Seriously speaking, even if I felt going back, I had nowhere to go. Why? Just because... There's nothing to do there, nothing at all. No one's waiting for me there. But your parents... My parents... Well, they're not there now. But where are they then? They're sort of working abroad. Ah, so you're one lucky guy. She smiled merrily. Why? They send you foreign stuff and all. I wouldn't call my situation lucky as such. Well, anyway, don't be upset. She really looks as if she can't understand what I'm saying. I'm not upset about it. And that was true. Then what's up? Many things. For example? Well, for example... I was about to begin when a vast outburst about my situation and my wish not to have to part with Slavya, when the door was flung open with a bang and Xenia entered. Ah, there you are. Yes, we're packing. I see. It's a good thing that I didn't come 10 minutes later or I would have disturbed your... packing. Slavya blushed and kept on stuffing her things inside a bag anxiously. What's up, heroic lover boy? That form of address gave me the creeps. What? Nothing. She stared at me intently for some time. Watch it. Now more than just yourself depends on your choices. I didn't reply, and with those words, Xenia left the cabin. What did she mean? Well, I think you can never know for sure. And yet... Well, I wanted to talk to you about it myself. I was able to start, but then... About what? Slavya looked at me carefully. It's just... Today we're leaving, right? Right. And we'll be moving back to our cities. Well, yeah. And when will I see you again? Slavya grew thoughtful. I don't know. And I don't know either. Well, you could write me letters. She smiled, but her smile just didn't bring me peace of mind. Yeah, of course, but you know, that's not the same. What is it then? Can I go with you? I decided to take a chance and speak plainly. And what will you do there? Slavya seemed not surprised, but a bit vexed. Studying my parents? And what will people say? I wasn't thinking about the opinions of other people, and to be honest, they didn't worry me much. We can always find a way. What way? We'll think of something. Simeon, we're too young for this. In fact, I'm not. So what? Maybe after some time. How much time do you need? A year? 2 years? 5? You say it as if... I don't know. She seemed confused. So everything that happened here was just a holiday romance? I was starting to get angry. No, of course not. Just... What? I'm not ready to discuss it right now. Let's talk about it later. When later? We only have a couple of hours left till departure. Slavya said nothing and continued to pack her things. I'd expected almost any kind of reaction from her, but not this. In fact, she just pushed me away. Turns out she doesn't need to continue our relationship. So I'm not that important to her. Look, I still don't understand. What? Asked Slavya without turning. Why don't you want... And how did you expect it to be? I can find a job, rent an apartment. And what can you do? Do you at least have a school leaving certificate? In fact, yes, it's lying somewhere in the closet. That's not important here. Why not? If you have a goal, you can overcome any obstacles. Moreover, they're not that big. That's what you think. Maybe you're right, but I can't understand your reaction. After all, if we just leave, then that's all. That's the end. I didn't say that, but it's obvious. Where did you get that idea from? She shouted. And perhaps it was the first time that I had ever seen Slavya like this. Well, let me put it differently. I don't just want to go back to the place where I live, and to communicate with you only by letters or phone, hoping for a chance to meet. It'll be hard for me too. Well, what's the problem then? You know, not everything is up to us. Who is it up to then? Although no one would know how right she is better than I. If it were all up to me, I would never have found myself here. There are norms of society, laws, morality, ethics after all. And what do those have to do with anything? Are all of those that important? If they're not so important to you, they're important to me. Okay. I'm even ready to behave according to your standards, but there is something more important. Maybe, but I can't, so suddenly. You don't have much time to think. I paused for a moment to gather my thoughts. I can only offer myself, because that's the only thing I've got. Moreover, I don't know what might happen to me in an hour, but I'm sure that whatever happens, if I have to start from scratch, I want to start with you. Speaking so beautifully, but imagine how I feel. For you it's all so simple, but I have my own life that I'm used to, and to change everything just like that? I had but one before too, I said softly. What? I'm saying that it's inevitable. Changes are part of life. You can't live without facing them. Slavya looked thoughtful and stood still for some time, holding her bag in her hands. And then she came up to me, sat beside me, and put her head down on my shoulder. Okay, I believe you. If you say so, then let it be. And at that moment, I felt perfect happiness. It doesn't matter that a week ago I was in a completely different world, living another life. All of that is gone, and now it seemed to me like something wild or alien. And I didn't even understand how I could consider that normal. Now, I'm less concerned with how and by whose will this happened. Now I'm not looking for answers. Why would I? When they're all right here in front of me. Now I have a long road ahead, hand in hand, with the person that I love. And looking back makes no sense. I could sit here forever, not noticing the time, but Slavya finally looked at the clock, gently whispered in my ear. It's time. Yes, exactly. You go to the bus stop, I'll run to the camp leader's cabin and get my things. You're so disorganized, you should have gathered them in advance, laughed Slavya. I don't have much to pack anyway. I leaped out of the house and ran towards Olga's cabin. Well, that to me seems like a pretty good point to end this video, so I will say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next part.